I've hit it.
There we go.
Oh, we are live. Ladies and gentlemen of Facebook world and YouTube land and Spotify land, welcome. This is your weekly dose of Mauls, Balls and all. It has just gone 8:30. It is indeed Thursday. And this is your show where we talk about all things rugby. And joining me this evening are very familiar faces to you all. We have our Munster fan in Glasgow, Mike Reedy. Mike, how the hell are you, buddy?
Very good, buddy. Very
Excellent.
good.
Good to hear. Good to hear. We also have the, the St. Mary's man in Kildare, I think, Matt, aren't you? Matt Boland?
Correct. Evening all.
Good man. And good evening. And Connacht's finest, James Grennan. How the hell are you, James? Are you well?
All good here. Thank you.
And we have our returning guest. He has been on with us before. He has a CV the length of your arm. I'm going to cherry pick his achievements. I'm just going to mention two. He has played for Ulster and he has played for Ireland, but he is also the co-host of a great podcast, folks. If you haven't heard it, it's a leadership business type podcast, but it's great. It's hugely interesting. Justin Fitzpatrick, how the hell are you, buddy? Are you well?
I'm very well, Peter. Thanks for having me back.
Not at all. Great to have you back. Now, before we go into talking about what was on our list, we have some good news, folks. We have some good Irish news that James Grennan is going to tell us all about his daughter, Maeve. James, the floor is yours.
Very, very proud dad moment. As a lot of you probably already know, Maeve played under 16s for Connacht last season, and more recently she was playing with the under 17s, where she captained Connacht v Munster a couple of weeks ago, about this day 2 weeks ago actually. And most recently she has just been called up to train at the moment with the under 18.5 squad. So she's extremely happy. She's at training with her own club, Corinthians, tonight. So she might see this on record and be mortified. But I'm very, very proud, a super proud dad moment, and delighted to share that news.
Lovely,
Great.
James. Great.
Congratulations.
Brilliant. Well done. Love it. And well done, Maeve, and proud dad, James Grennan. Okay. Moving on. Great to hear that, James. Nice one.
I'm celebrating with a beer as well.
Well, and so you should. Justin, we had the Andy Farrell released his team selection yesterday. Let me just call it up here, Justin. Okay, here we go. One or two inclusions, I suppose you could say. One or two omissions, I would imagine. But Justin, I suppose we had Timony in. Brilliant. Nice one. Love it. He deserves it. Tommy O'Brien omitted. But Justin, the question about all this is not should they or shouldn't they have been. But is this, and I've seen it, it's been written about, so this is nothing out of the blue. Is this Justin Stockdale's last kind of hurrah at kind of getting regular play or selection? I can't remember the last time Stockdale actually was started. Sorry, Justin. Go on. I always overthink these things. Sorry, Justin. Go on.
He started against France.
He started against France, yeah.
No, but prior to that, I know, but prior to that, I think there was a few years. But anyway, sorry, go on, Justin.
So, he was out for a long time with injury, and, he's been part of an Ulster side that's been resurgent compared to the last few seasons, and I think that's a good reward. He was, if we look back 2 or 3 seasons ago, he was a bit of a shoe-in and is a quality player. So I don't think this is a last hurrah by any stretch of the imagination. Now, again, like any professional sportsman, you're only as good as your last performance, and he's a seasoned pro. I'm sure he'll pick up the stick and run with it. And I wish him every luck. So no, I don't buy into that. I think that's a little bit of clickbait. I think in a broader context, the changes have been made serve a couple of really important purposes. You get to freshen up some players ahead of playing Scotland next week, right? And not to look past Wales, because they put on a pretty strong performance against the Scots last weekend and were leading for the guts of the game. That being said, we could be well going into the game against Scotland with a Triple Crown to play for it, perhaps potentially more if someone overturns the French. So that's important. But also, probably for me, more importantly, if we look over the horizon to the World Cup next year, we have to know who we can trust to take on the plane with us, that can go out there, that's that's ready, that's experienced the cauldron like the Six Nations is, and so not caught like a rabbit in the headlamps, on the big stage in the World Cup. Should there be an injury? Should they need to rotate the players? Should there be a lapse in form for somebody else? We need to know who is ready and able to step up. So I think this is not without jeopardy, but if we look at the form book, this is a great test for us. And looking over the horizon, whatever happens in the game, I think this will serve us in great stead in the coming 18 months.
All right. Okay. Thanks. Good point, Justin, and well made. Mike Grady, as I've asked Justin, Jacob Stockdale.
I agree with Jason to a point that
who's Jason?
He's still young.
Who's the fuck is Jason?
Sorry.
Mike, that's my weekend name.
I just missed your weekend. Sorry, I apologise, Justin. I agree that he's young enough that it shouldn't be his last hurrah. If he comes in and has the game of his life, which I hope he does, because that's what we need. We need players to be playing well. However, I am a little bit surprised that Tommy O'Brien was, after probably his best game for Ireland, coming on like in the 18th minute against England and having an absolute brilliant game. And I'm surprised that he didn't get another shot at that. Like
okay, Mike, hold on. Let me just be devil's advocate here for a second, right? Me thinking as a rugby fan, I would say, I don't know if anyone would agree with me, I would say there is an expectation, Mike, that we would beat Wales, not at a canter, but relatively, it should be okay for us. So we will save our hold on, Mike. We will save our better players for the Scotland game to, as you say, win the Triple Crown. That's
all very fine, but we still need to take care of Wales, and all these games are potential banana skins. If you don't go in prepared properly, you could come unstuck. I don't see it happening now. Personally, I don't see it happening. But the reason I would have played Tommy O'Brien, because momentum is a great thing, by the way, and he had I think he earned the right to start, to be honest, because he had a poor game in Paris, as did nearly almost all the team. But he was absolutely outstanding, and I thought to give him the impetus, and it's not his natural wing, like he's usually a right winger, but he was outstanding, and he also came inside and linked up with Balakoon on several occasions to great effect. It was a joy to watch, and another it was the best Ireland have played in 2 years as a team. Like that momentum going into a Wales game, and maybe put a good score on Wales, possibly, hopefully. But that's not to say that that Jacob Stockdale won't do the job, and good luck to him. I really hope he has a really top game, as all the players, as from all the players.
Okay, James, Matt, I'll come to you last on this. James Grennan, Stockdale's, as I've asked Justin or Jason, as Mike calls him. James, Stockdale, I've seen it written. It has been written that it's Stockdale's last chance to cement or improve his standing in an Irish selection. Would you agree with that? Justin doesn't really, Mike doesn't really. I would disagree with both. I'd say it is his last chance. What do you think, James?
Well, we never know from game to game when a player's going to have his last match. He could get injured. Hopefully he won't. But barring injury, I can't see it being his last game. I tend to disagree with Mike a little bit about the whole momentum thing there. I think we need to build the depth in the squad, and having given Stockdale a run out, it'll give us options going into the Scottish game. To be a little bit parochial about it, I was surprised to see Cian Prendergast getting left out if you talk about players in form. But then again, as you said, Pete, we might be saving our better players for the Scotland game. Wales are going to create a challenge. You can see they've been improving game on game, no more than Ireland have, but they've been improving game on game, and they're going to be a big challenge. So we will need our players on top form. I don't agree that we'll win at a canter. I think we'll win, but I think it's going to be a lot tighter than people suspect.
All right. Okay. Matt, if you remember, I can't remember if you were on the show with Jim Glennon. He said that in order for us to lose against Wales, we would have to drop significantly below our performances against, against England. But I can't look. You ask any Irish player, and we can all kind of discuss this, the ins and outs of it all. But most Irish rugby players would say that we should beat Wales, and this is just going on form. It's not slagging anyone. It's just going on current form. But the original question, Matt, was Stockdale's last hurrah to get or to cement a starting position with Ireland. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, look, I don't like the whole last chance saloon thing, because if you look at it in a broader spectrum, any player going onto a pitch could be his last chance to impress. Like if you don't, like a player's not going to go out on the pitch and think, this is my last chance to impress. I'm just going to go out and give the best I can give on any time. And like it's thought process as well. Like they're going to go and apply themselves the best they can. And as James said, like barring injuries, things you can't plan for, players are always going to put their best foot forward. And again, I don't know if it is his last chance. Like he is a player that has dipped in form, but we have to remember that he had been injured several times, which has a really bad effect as well, because it takes away your momentum. It takes away a bit of confidence. When you come back from injury, you nearly want to protect yourself that extra bit, and a lot of that plays into it as well. He has been a fantastic player when he burst onto the scene. He was a record try scorer in his first Six Nations. So
yeah, but that was 6 years ago, Matt.
Yeah, but sure, like he's not 46. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
no, he's 30 in April.
Yeah, exactly. So he still has a bit in the tank, And okay, bar a bad game, whatever, he might be dropped, but anybody can be dropped after a bad game. And that's when you look at the players that we have now in pretty much all positions. If you don't perform to the coach's expectation, you could expect to be dropped as well. And going like with what you're saying there against Wales, like we would be favourites to win this game. But as we all know, this Six Nations is so competitive that if you take your eye off the next team in line and focus on a team that's coming down the road, that's at your peril, because it could very easily slap you in the face, and it has done us in the past. Oh, we're not looking at the next game, we're looking at the game after that. And then all of a sudden,
that's what happened to England.
Exactly. Do you know what I mean? And it can happen to any team. So Wales, given their whatever's going on in Welsh rugby and how bad it is and how badly it was managed, and the fact that they're losing one of their teams at the end of the season, it's a really dire place for them. But that's when we've seen how well the Dragons and how well Cardiff have really performed, because their backs against the wall, and that's when they can be dangerous. And we've seen Wales in the past, and if you look at that performance against Scotland, they played really, really well for 60 minutes and threatening rugby. Mm-hmm. And that's when Wales can be very, very dangerous. So I'm sure the lads are focused on this game only. You know, they're not
yes.
down the road. You know, they're
yes.
I think them days are well gone, especially in the Six Nations. Right. It's I wouldn't say we're going to win it at a canter either. You know.
No. I tell you, Matt. No, I saw that quoted. That's not me. I saw that.
No. I know. I know. You did say you saw it quoted somewhere, but I don't agree with it because we have the potential to win at a canter. Yes, of course we do. If we go out and play like we did against England, but if you look at the two performances against Italy and back further against France, we weren't at a canter, and that's when things can change dramatically.
Yeah. All right. Okay. But thanks, Matt. Just a few comments that are coming in. Bev Anne Marie, evening all. Lovely to see you again, Justin. Okay, there you are. There's a fan there for you, Justin. Gregor Galway, hi, Gregor. Evening all. Niall Steins is congratulating you, James, and your daughter, Maeve. Well done, Maeve. Absolutely. Jenny Quinn Ainger, hi all. Congratulations to you, James and Maeve. Lovely to hear about the upcoming girls and boys. I remember those exciting days and even more exciting times ahead, hopefully. Absolutely. Yes. Thanks, Jenny. Luke Conway. Hi, Luke. Hi, James. Congratulations to Maeve. Bev Anne Marie says, is Tommy O'Brien not injured? I don't know. I don't know that has been brought up. I don't know if he is. Hominin stuff. I have no idea what your name is. Bad idea to assume we can just turn up and beat Wales. That's not what I'm saying. Whoever you are. Pauline Boland, Matt, your mum. I agree with Mike. Can't understand why Tommy O'Brien has been omitted. He had a brilliant game against England. Stockdale defence was sadly lacking in his game versus France. Wales are a very gutsy team and gave Scotland a scare. Okay, just sorry, Bevan again says Jacob is 29. Even Tom Farrell has got caps at an older age. Well, look, let's just look at Johnny Sexton. What age he retired at? Although 104. Position. Yeah, James Lowe is older than him, and at the minute he's on an amazing form and seems to have got back to the pre-injury Jacob that helped change Irish rugby. And finally, before we go on, Mike Sheedy, hi Mike. Jack and Gibson Park a few weeks ago, 10 minutes to go with next one, Ireland. The England both did work together. Great for Irish rugby. Both are a great team, work together and again every game. So, okay. Sorry, one more. Joe Lyons. Evening. Are we all worried about the number of Ulster lads in this Irish teams? No. Will be great. Well, considering Joe, a year ago there was none and now there's 7. Would be great seeing someone else getting the blame. Shut up, Joe. Jesus Christ. You're such a wind-up merchant. Would you ever stop? But I tell you though, Justin. I know, yeah, good man, Joe. Justin, there is one thing, there is one comparison that I saw regularly across fan groups on Facebook. Now, we will leave it at this, but it's just a point worth making, I think. And we will go back to Stockdale. Is that he is the same as Duhan van der Merwe, in that he is a one-trick pony.
No.
And I suspect we've spoken about this before, in that both Stockdale and Duhan van der Merwe are great going forward, but their defensive capabilities are sadly lacking. Now, in a tournament like the Six Nations, and we've the Nations Cup coming up now, Northern Hemisphere versus Southern Hemisphere against these mad teams. Justin, is that not a flaw or a C minus, a D on their copybook when you're talking about the level that these guys are going to be playing at?
Well, I think when you're so talented with the and I remember us talking about this ahead of the Lions tour last year. I mean, he's you mentioned Van der Merwe. He's so good with the ball going forward that perhaps there's a bigger contrast with what he can do not with the ball. So that's always a possibility. Again, I think Andy Farrell has proven himself to be an excellent coach. We've got an excellent system in place. Ulster, in fairness, have been playing much better this season than in the last couple of seasons, which is great to see. So I think we give Jacob his head. He's been playing well for Ulster. For the season, he seems to have got over all his knocks and bangs and injuries and so on and so forth. And as we've all noted, I mean, this is not going to be an easy assignment against Wales. They were very competitive last week, 2 weekends ago against Scotland, and we're going to be tested. But as I said earlier, on a collective level, we need to know who we can rely on before we get on that plane to go to Australia. And this, one way or the other, is going to tell us a lot about, this tournament's going to tell us a lot about the individuals that have participated. And that's hugely important.
But would you worry, Justin, as has been brought up before, that it's an aging Ireland squad? Would that worry you at all?
Well, but then you've only got to look at a couple of the inclusions, with the like of Doak and Stewart coming into the squad. They're young and hungry, so we're going to need those characters potentially to field or to back up. Or maybe more, 18 months is a long time in sport. When we get to Australia, we need to know what they're about now. I think this is a very bold and welcomed decision by the coaching staff, Andy Farrell's coaching staff. I think there's been too many times in the past at the same stage in the World Cup cycle where we've gone the safe route to get a Triple Crown or a championship or win a Grand Slam, and then we've been found wanting in one way or another heading into the World Cup. And I think, for me anyway, personally, I'd rather overturn all stones at this point now and heading into the World Cup and give us the best possible opportunity to overcome the hoodoo that is the quarterfinals than risk not winning a Triple Crown or something like that. Not that it's not important, it is important, but we've
I know I know exactly the point you're making. Yes, absolutely. Yes. All right. Okay. Thanks, Justin. James Grennan. To move on from this, I just think this is. When I first read it, I thought it was a piss take. I actually thought someone was taking the piss, right? But I read into it. New Zealand and South Africa are looking to, replace scrums with mauls. Firstly, I've no idea how that's going to work. Secondly, I don't know why they want to do it. Thirdly, a good contested maul will take as long as a bloody scrum to set. So I'm at a loss as to how this would work. James, mauls replacing scrums. Go ahead.
This came out on March 1st, and I thought, is it a month early? Should not be out in April 1st. It's the most idiotic thing I've ever heard, and there was some other mention of getting rid of scrums altogether. We already have that in rugby league. If you want to play that, go ahead and play rugby league. This is a different game entirely. To be honest, I can't watch it. I can't watch rugby league because I don't find it. I find the whole ruck situation in rugby league idiotic, where you get a tackle, you just throw the ball back behind you and you move on. I don't know where they're going with this or who came up with this idea, and I can't see any merit to it at all. It'll just scrums are a strategic part of the game a lot of the time. If you're on a yellow card and your team is on a yellow card and you want to wind down a bit of the clock, a good old scrum is the way to go. Also, the Italians, their scrum dominance this Six Nations has been very exciting to watch and has been hugely entertaining in my view. So I see no sense, no logic, no rhyme, no reason to it at all.
But James, how would it actually work? I'm going to ask everyone the same question. How would you? Okay, Maul. Like, I don't know how it would work.
Yeah, but I don't either. I genuinely, I have no idea what they're thinking.
All right, okay. Mike Reedy, what I've asked James there, replacing the scrum with a maul. As South Africa and New Zealand.
How do you start them all? Like a maul is formed by from either a line out or sometimes in broken play where you get the ball held up. A maul is formed that way, but you're not going to just start a fucking maul in the middle of the park. Like you need something.
Unless you're South African.
Well, yeah. Well, of course, yeah. No, they'll scrum. They scrum. They choose to have a scrum like it under their own fucking posts just to get a penalty. But
is this another fucking Razzie Erasmus one? Is it?
I don't know. I mean,
no, but it was both South Africa and New Zealand at World Rugby Convention or whatever.
I cannot believe South Africa would want to get rid of the scrum. Like that just makes no sense whatsoever. The scrum has been part of the fabric of rugby for forever, and it has to continue, like, because it makes absolutely zero sense whatsoever. And even though, from an Irish perspective, we're struggling a bit in the fucking scrum right now, so maybe it might be beneficial to us, but I know that's absolute. I mean, they keep on wanting to move the goalposts and fucking reinvent the wheel here all the time when it's not necessary. Listen, make no mistake about it. The scrum is a bit of a mess, and it needs to be. They need to actually apply the laws of the game properly. First of all, fucking putting the ball in so it's hooked properly instead of fucking throwing it straight out to the number 8, basically. So it's no, absolutely not. It's nonsense.
All right, okay. Matt, your thoughts on this? I'm not sure if you saw the article.
I didn't, to be honest. But like as Mike said, like if any nations more recent times wanted to get rid of a scrum, it would have been us, considering the dominance that we lost in a scrum. And when we were playing South Africa in the Autumn Nations in November, our scrum was absolutely dominated, and we could see we struggled against Italy. We struggled against England to a certain degree as well. But to get rid of, like, I don't understand why a nation like South Africa, they're producing incredibly physical, strong, unbelievable guys that are like, they're just born and bred for scrummaging. And why they want to get rid of it, it doesn't make any sense to me. So, like, a scrum in the game is a way to restart the game after it being knocked on. So how are they going to, if a team gets knocked on, what are they going to do then after that? Because that's a scrum basically is from a knock on. So when a team knocks on, it's an opposition scrum, and that's how the game gets restarted. So I don't know how they'd do a maul from like in the center. I really don't know. It doesn't. It's baffling to me. And as people have said already, like it's union we're playing, not league. So let's just stick with union rules. Thanks very much.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Justin, I don't know if you read this or heard about this idea that South Africa and New Zealand wanted to replace the scrum with a maul. Now, as I've asked James and Mike and Matt before you, I have no idea how this concept would work. First of all, Justin, have you heard about this? Did you read the articles about it? And how would it work?
I did read a couple of articles. What I read was it was the Kiwis and the Aussies, not the South Africans, that were pushing this at the World Rugby. But
maybe so.
I may be incorrect on that. Regardless, no and no again. It's a ridiculous idea. The scrum is one of the few areas in the game where you've got that sort of one-on-one, within a collective ability to take on the opposition. Fundamentally, our game is a game for all shapes and sizes, and that is found in that pack, shorter, heavier guys, tall guys, it's just ridiculous. And I think it was Mike who just said there, leave the game alone. I personally, maybe this is just my bugbear, but I get the intent to try and shape the game year on year with rule changes, but our game's not broken. It really isn't, and the scrum's a huge part of it. And I think it was in the comments, Bevan had mentioned there about putting the ball in, letting the hookers compete, not putting it into the second rows or the back rows on the feed. Let's have a contest. And as Matt rightly said, if we look back over the last X amount of games, sometimes that's put us under pressure. But that's the game. It's a contest. It's we've got to improve individually, collectively, and as a unit to deal with that. So no, and no. Leave the game alone. The scrum is fundamental.
Well, come here though, Justin. Okay, let's say World Rugby in their warped wisdom. I'm actually just intrigued as to how it would work. And I'm asking you because you played at the highest level, you've coached at the highest level. So, but how would that work? How would a maul over a scrum bloody work? How would I just can't picture it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't read anything that gave out thoughts on how that might look, but thinking logically, if you go back to the 80s and before, it was relatively common, maybe once or twice, 3 times a game for, to have a tap and go free kick. And one of the options on that would be to start a maul. So I could see something in and around that where, you maybe brought the distances closer together and the intent is to set up that maul from a free kick situation. Again, I think Matt rightfully said, if it was you, Matt, sorry if it wasn't, that would be incredibly messy. And in fairness to the scrum now, if we look at it compared to 20 years ago, it's much more surgical looking. It's much more clinical now in terms of the setup, the routine, where it was a bit of a barroom brawl back 30 plus years ago. So I don't think that you're kind of taking the game back and backwards and creating a problem that doesn't exist currently by starting them all. That would be my opinion anyway.
Yeah. All right. No, fair enough, Justin. I take your point. Absolutely. Joe Lyons, let me just see here, going back to what we were speaking about. Was Jacob's performance against France not more down to him playing on the wing as opposed to 15, where he has been playing? Yeah, I don't know. Justin, maybe is Stockdale a winger or is he a fullback?
I think he's played both for Ulster, but I think he's more of an out-and-out winger is my understanding of it, but has the ability to push back in a fullback, which, in terms of a squad, again, not to harp on, but if we're looking over the horizon to who we're going to take in Australia, those kind of situations, being able to play another position outside of your best one, really helps a squad with limited numbers. Yeah.
Okay. Hominin in the mirror. How are you doing? How's your own? Speaking as an Ulster man, I'm obviously delighted Ulster is well represented in an Irish team. Yes, so we all are. Mm-hmm. That said, I'm more interested that the Irish team is going to win regardless of province. Mm-hmm. We've often said that here on this We're not pro Connacht, Leinster, Munster, Ulster. We just discuss it as it goes on.
Is this the first time you've had this show where all 4 provinces have been represented on screen?
That's a very good point.
Go, we've Munster, Leinster, Connacht,
and Ulster.
I'd actually like to point out I'm more an Ireland supporter than any province.
Oh, shut up, fucking Mother Teresa here of the bloody Irish.
I've always supported Ireland first. Always.
Get back in your
fence. Brilliant. Yeah. Well done, Mike. Bev Armory, the whole reason scrums were set up, I think this is what you were talking about, Justin, where it was to make it clear that it was union. If they don't want scrums, they should just go to league instead. Same with lineouts as well. They don't exist. Scarood, Bishop Len, Peter and James, would you ever get some beer glasses? You look like 2 young fellas getting pissed down the fields. No fecking decorum. Excuse me. Cheers. Hold on. No, I'm scrolling. Sorry, hold on 1 sec. Joe Lines, let me just read them before I put them up on screen. Only change they need to enforce is that the bloody hooker does his job.
Who's that?
Beg your pardon.
Hugo is at it.
No, Hugo's not in the room.
No, it's Justin's dog.
Yeah.
Okay, Joe Lyons. Only change they need to enforce is that the bloody hooker does his job. Would make a huge difference. Also, no drive till the ball is hooked would level scrums big time. Justin, your position was the front row. I mean, if you look. People always bang on about the scrum, and it goes down on the loose head side, it goes down on the tight head side. There was no. I love the dog. There was no hooker, anchor, leg, and there's a whole host of issues. Justin, it was your position. All right, calm down, dog. Justin, what's your dog's name? He's muted. Bruce, shut up.
Come on, Bruce. Up, Bruce, up.
That seemed to have done it. Your question, Peter.
My question, Jesus, what was my question? Oh, yes.
You said
my question was, no, we have all this. If you look at any game, be it Six Nations, be it AIL, be it URC, be it Heineken Cup, be it whatever, there is always this thing, Justin, and you played the position. This is why I want your opinion. It's gone down on the tight head side. It goes down on the loose head side. There's no, I can't remember, what do you call the hooker's foot, the stopgap, or no, what is it? The anchor foot or whatever it is. Why is the scrum so bloody complicated, Justin? It should be on paper, but the game isn't played on paper. It should be a bloody straightforward, thing.
Like the rest of the game, Peter? Are we going to talk about rucks, slide outs, defensive systems? I mean, it's a beautiful sport, and it's fabulously complex, right? So, yeah, I mean, it just is what it is, and that's what makes it so beautiful, And as I said earlier, it's a game for all shapes and sizes, right? And you've got all those elements in the scrum. I think the biggest thing that I would like to see happen with the scrum is a straight feed, not being put into the feet of the second row. That would, I think, encourage more diversity of options to compete for the ball. Because at the moment, it's usually get your biggest, strongest guys in there, your best scrummagers, and it's you're pushing forwards or backwards. 20, 30 years ago, your opposition hooker could have a strike for the ball and take one against the head. I haven't seen that done in a long time because there's too much pressure at the scrum at the moment.
Yeah, okay, true. I remember, actually, Justin, you just reminded me there. I remember the last time I saw a strike against the head was when Michael Bradley put a ball into Ireland. I think it was against Scotland. That was the last time I saw a strike against the head. I could be wrong on that, but it was definitely Michael Bradley putting it into a scrum. I think it was Scotland, but sure. Anyway, there you go.
Yeah.
That's how long ago it was.
Or the hand of God against Leinster and Munster. Do you remember that? The ball got
Leicester.
Yes.
Oh,
yes. Sorry, go on, Matt. Sorry.
What was it, Neil Beck?
Yes.
Neil Beck. Yes. Yes. Niall Signs is here with a kind of a semi-witty comment. Can we have Werner play for Ireland? Best name ever. Every time the commentator says, "Cock has the ball," I can't control myself with giggles. Okay. All right. Thank you, Niall. Thank you, Niall. Jenny Quinn Ainger, we need some of the aging players for experience and psychological input into the squad, but the young enthusiasm and energy with the right coaching team with Nail and the World Cup squad. Yes, absolutely, Jenny. Yes, agree with that. Bevan, bring back cooking in scrums. There's Bevan agreeing with you, Justin. Bring back cooking in scrums and the teams pushing in scrums rather than just getting it out straight away, and then rugby will be better again. I think that, yeah. You see, folks, I don't think there's the problem, and we had, Justin, I think I said this before. Now, the Mike, Matt, and James know this. We had Luke Pearce on the show. And I asked him about this, about that. Is rugby gone too complicated? Because he did say it. And he said it again. He said, it is. I mean, Justin, there needs, like, this is a whole other show in itself about the rugby laws and all this sort of stuff. But just briefly, Justin, would you agree with Luke? Is the game gone too, the game is too complicated, for Christ's sake, at the moment, Justin?
Agreed, and it's not even. I mean, to pick up on the point I made earlier, I'd love to see less changes to the laws as every summer. I think that complicates it even more. But it's also the interpretation of the laws it changes. Not all of them, but some of them year on year. How it's going to be adjudicated, and I think it would be. Behooving on all of us to have a more black and white, clear cut, less room for interpretation laws of the game.
All right, okay. Thank you, Justin. Jenny Quinn Ainger again. Also, we need to get together as a rugby nation and stop all this shite between provinces. Jenny, listen, no one would disagree with you on that, and we try our best in the group, as you know, to stamp that out, but look, you're never going to get rid of it all. Bishop Len says, lads, this is brilliant rugby and Crufts all on the one show. Only joking, Justin, we're all dog lovers here. That is quite true.
Absolutely.
Yes, okay. All right, moving on. Mike Reedy. We have, now wait until I just read this. I have it here in my photographs on my phone shut off. About New Zealand and South Africa bitching. Sorry, the South African CEO, Rian Oberholzer, doubts that New Zealand or South Africa will host a Rugby World Cup again. Now, my initial thoughts is, so what? Now, but no, it is, because I mean they think there are only two nations who play rugby and host rugby tournaments. Anyway, he goes on. So New Zealand or South Africa will never host the World Cup again. Mike, as the two countries are unable to generate sufficient revenue, he says it is a challenge for us going forward. He told reporters in Cape Town, the Rugby World Cup is the only revenue stream for World Rugby that must fund the whole ecosystem. All members must get some funding out of the Rugby World Cup. Therefore, World Rugby must take the tournament to where it can generate the most revenue. Mike, is that not an incredibly myopic view from World Rugby or the South African Rugby CEO about this?
It is, and I don't know. I know you live in the USA, Justin, but taking rugby to these places that don't really want to watch rugby or play rugby, it could potentially grow the sport maybe in that country. But they've taken the Soccer World Cup to America, and it didn't grow it really from '94, and it's obviously there again this year. So let's see how that goes. But I think for them to make a suggestion that will never be in South Africa, or listen, if they can't afford to host it, then so be it. They can't afford to host it, so they won't be having it. But like a year ago, Australia were in absolute turmoil, like as a rugby union playing nation, and Josh Smith has gone in there and changed the way they're going forward. It looks that way anyway at the moment. Let's see how they are when it comes to the World Cup. But so that I don't know. Are they crying that the rest of the world need to fucking fund it for them? Is that what their point is here? Like,
no. I think the point that the South African CEO is saying is that the interest in rugby in South Africa and New Zealand is waning, in the sense that they don't fill their huge stadiums.
Well, I think like the infrastructure in South Africa is pretty poor outside. I mean, the stadia are fine, but the infrastructure in South Africa isn't the best, throughout the nation. And I think rugby World Cup has become a very much bigger event now than it was even 15, 20 years ago. And I actually have to be honest, I think Ireland would struggle to host the World Cup now. And we might have done the 23 World Cup, and we probably could have staged a great tournament. But the way that tournament was run in France was incredible. Like the infrastructure France and England have, for instance, and is way ahead of what we would have, and what South Africa and New Zealand. The last World Cup in New Zealand wasn't a sold out tournament, by the way. It was they struggled a bit back then even. So,
but I mean, Mike, Italy as a country up north could hold a Rugby World Cup if they want to.
Oh, I think Italy could potentially, absolutely, they could, yeah.
Yeah, of course they could, yeah. And I was going to say Argentina, but maybe not. James Grennan, your thoughts on that point from the South African rugby CEO that South Africa and New Zealand will not hold a Rugby World Cup again, purely based on revenue generators.
I think if South Africa want to host the Rugby World Cup again, they need to get Matt Damon back. I think that's the only way they'll get they'll get it. Yeah, I don't know. This is more fucking nonsense from South Africa. You have Razzie going off and ranting about this thing, and this guy now. Look, it's a money game. If they can't afford it, they can't afford it. But nobody else is going to pay for them to host it, and maybe they just don't want to travel. They're getting sick of traveling. Yeah, I don't know. It's a nonsense story, in my view.
Oh, okay. Well, the reason I brought it up is because I can't remember who the IRFU equivalent CEO is. His name escapes me at the moment, but it's just that the South African CEO came out and said this. Matt, any thoughts on this whole idea that it's kind of getting at the point that the rugby, big rugby tournaments are so, and look, you'd be stupid not to think this, but that it's all revenue based. Of course, it's revenue based, but the fact that South Africa and New Zealand cannot generate the revenue to justify having a World Cup there seems mad.
Well, look, I mean, we all know they want to earn the most amount of money from the World Cup. So, like, if you look, I suppose, at even some of the games that are going on in the URC down in South Africa, they're in empty stadiums. And I suppose, like, if you're potentially having a World Cup in South Africa, say, you'd be worried as a business to say, well, we're not going to sell out these stadiums, so why would we have it there? Like, they'll only sell out for South Africa playing or New Zealand are playing because they're the big guys. But you've got to remember there's loads of pool games going on where it could be Spain playing America.
Maybe, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And they want them full as well. So they'll want genuine rugby fans that are going to go and watch them to generate the most amount of money. And let's be honest here. They want to get the most amount of money. And I suppose if they can go to a place like France that have got the top 14, which is probably the highest grossing league in the world, they have the infrastructure there with all the stadiums. They have so many fans in the top 14 and the D12 that they'll just go to watch rugby. And it doesn't matter who's playing. And that's when World Rugby will go, we'll have it in France because we know all of them games will sell out. And they'll do that.
Totally agree, Matt. Sorry for interrupting you. Yeah,
you're grand. But like,
totally
that's, I would assume that's where he's coming from. And they might necessarily get that in South Africa. I don't know. They'd probably, it'd probably be okay in New Zealand because they're rugby mad as well. And that's their number one game. So I would imagine a lot of the fans in New Zealand would go and watch any game, whether it's a smaller group stage game or whatever. But look, it's down to money. They want to get the most amount of money, and the most amount of money that's raised for a World Cup means our game is going to be safer.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Matt. Justin. Like. It seems, as Matt said, and it was alluded to in previous conversations that we've had here, but the popularity of rugby attendance in South Africa, apart from local derbies, seems to be waning. And maybe this is why this whole conversation has popped up. Justin.
So if I understood the article from the South African CEO correctly, it is really commenting on the economic argument. So the business model that World Rugby currently employs is based upon the money they generate every 4 years. Very little, if anything else that they do in between anywhere else in the world generates any money. It's a net loss, generally speaking. So that Rugby World Cup money funds the global game, and if you take away the established unions, the All Blacks, the Irish, English, French, etc., which are, the apex of the global game, the rest of the unions are run on handouts at the moment, right? So if we want to be a global game, that becomes an important factor. It's got to be funded from somewhere, and currently the business model is a 4-year cycle with World Cups, and those World Cups are looking at different criteria: stadium size, transport networks, TV, time zones, safety in the country, etc. And unfortunately, some places don't have they've got left behind by how big the Rugby World Cup's gone. You only got to compare the numbers from in Japan compared to New Zealand, right? The math doesn't math, right? And more money is needing to be pumped into the game as we want, second and third tier unions to come up and expand. That all costs money. We want to grow the women's game, etc. So, it has to be paid for. And the business model currently is built around that Rugby World Cup cycle. And hence why, there's such interest in coming to America. It's the world's biggest sporting market. And you look at how, what a positive effect the 94 Soccer World Cup had. And MLS started the year afterwards. We're 30 years down the road now, and 19 of the top 50 football franchises in the world are based in North America. With LA valued at like $1 billion, with them cutting a TV deal with Apple TV for over $1 billion, so, and that was, in 30 years in a country that really had no interest in soccer. So I can see what they're doing. I mean, I play devil's advocate and say, well, it'd probably be better to have 2 or 3 other revenue streams as well, but that isn't the case at the moment. So, it kind of is what it is.
Yeah. All right, we are fast approaching the hour mark. We have 5 minutes left. I just want everyone's brief opinion. And Justin, you've just finished, so I'm coming back to you because you are a guest. The Nations Championship is kicking off in this year, 4th of July. I think our first game is New Zealand versus France, and then Australia versus Ireland, and so on. This is a cyclical thing every 2 years. We also have the Lions. We also have the World Cup. Again, it's kind of the bedrock, it seems, of World Rugby is that money is the driver behind everything they do. Now, I understand that. I get it. I know. But for the players' point of view, a Nations Championship, right, kicking off this year. Then we have the World Cup coming up, and then we have a Lions tour. Do we actually need, Justin, this Nations Championship? Northern Hemisphere against Southern Hemisphere. Let's have a make-you-up kind of cup. You know what I mean? And then we'd go on, and then we would do it again. Sorry, go on, Justin.
Well, I mean, you're playing devil's advocate. I mean, you could have said had the same argument pre the European Cup, pre formalised leagues, pre the top 14, Pro 14, etc., etc. So it's just another name to get the best sides playing the best sides. Internationals are played over that period of time. So how much is it going to change the dynamic? Is there more games? I haven't seen that there's necessarily more games over that period. Because, for example, we tend to go Southern Hemisphere during the summer, and they come back to us in the autumn. Maybe it's a game or two more. As I said a moment ago, if that generates more coffers in a formalised way, because at the moment, if my understanding is correct, just to say we take a tour to New Zealand in previous years, that's paid by the New Zealand Rugby Football Union, and they make the money on tickets, and vice versa. When they come up and play us in Dublin, we make our money there. Nobody else gets a cut of that. Well, maybe that's correct, maybe that's not. If this is formalised by World Rugby, maybe it takes takes some of the pressure off of the Rugby World Cup in terms of delivering funds beyond the top tier of the game, if that makes sense.
Okay, now, Justin, a comment has come in from our colleague, Dara West, right? And I want you to answer this. The Nations Championship will kill the Tier 2 nations like Romania, Georgia, Samoa, who used to make their money to keep their systems going by touring for autumn internationals. Justin, your response to that?
Yeah, I mean, it depends how you cut the cake. And I honestly don't know enough about this one to say with any definitive expertise in terms of it, because I'm only just been reading about it myself. But for those teams, so like when they're involved with the US team coming across in the autumn to play in Europe, that's all funded by World Rugby, right? That money has to come out of somewhere. Same for Romania, same for Canada, same for all those tier 2 nations. So, I would hope, and I don't know, perhaps there is, and I just don't know about it, that there's some mechanism in there, because it's been, in my opinion, pretty good that teams can and have been getting access in recent years to playing tier 1 nations amongst themselves. So hopefully that continues in some capacity, but it's all got to be paid for, right? And the game's not getting any cheaper. Right, and hard decisions have to be made. So again, I don't know whether I'm for or against this. I'm sort of suck it and see what happens. I mean, I like the idea of the best teams playing against the best teams. That appeals to me, and that in itself could be a driver of extra revenue, because that's likely to bring in other blue chip sponsors and so on and so forth. So hopefully it has a positive monetary effect that can trickle down into other aspects of the game.
Yeah, okay. Fair point, Justin. Yeah, fair point. Okay, James Grennan, this Nations Championship, as I've asked Justin, and like, any thoughts on it, James? Is it needed?
If it leads to more games in the Barons period between championships, and it leads to more day drinking, I'm all for it.
Right, okay, fair enough. Mike Reedy, when you get that bottle out of your face, your thoughts on the Nations Championship, as I've asked Justin and
I
James
think
Brennan.
basically, without being cynical, this is all geared towards enhancing the coffers of the Southern Hemisphere. I mean, we did, our last point was South Africa and New Zealand will never be able to afford to host the World Cup again. So is this? I mean, the gravy train for European rugby is the Six Nations. It's a massive financial benefit to the Six Nations. So South Africa or the Southern Hemisphere don't have the equivalent. Their rugby championship doesn't generate the same level of finance, and they want something else, and they want to play. Because listen, if it does, let's give it a go and see how it goes. I don't know. I don't think the money will filter down to the tier 2 nations, though. I think they'll,
I'd agree with you, Mike. I'd agree with you. Sorry,
some of the
Mike.
tier 1 nations sound like, I mean, they're struggling financially, like particularly like two of the biggest rugby nations, South Africa and New Zealand. So if they want to generate more finance, this might help them. I don't know.
Okay, and let's not forget about Wales and their major fuck up.
Absolutely, but that's been mismanaged. To be fair, a lot of that.
I know, big time. Matt, before we go on to the games coming up this weekend, your thoughts, Matt, albeit briefly, on this Nations Championship. Is it necessary?
Well, look, we had a summer tour. We always had summer internationals where we'd go and go down to New Zealand or go down to South Africa or go down to wherever. And the odd time you'd have kind of an in-between to go play Georgia or Argentina and a few other kind of nations. And as Dara said, like, he'd be afraid that it'd suffer them more than anything else. But as Mike said, like, are they just trying to generate more money for them? But you've got that tour, New Zealand tour in South Africa now this year, because there's no rugby championship. So surely that's going to generate a bit of money, or I don't know, probably not as much as we rightly know in the Six Nations is our cash cow. But look, I mean, they were playing in the summer anyway, so it doesn't really bother me.
It doesn't matter. Okay, all right. Okay, gentlemen, we're over the hour mark, so let's go on to our final topic. The game's coming up this weekend. Justin, I will leave you for the last voice on tonight's show. This is, as always, win, lose, or draw. Mike Reedy, as I'm looking at the screen. Bruce, sit down. I can hear you. Bruce. No.
He's going after Trump.
He's looking for treats. All right, Mike Reedy, as I'm looking at the screen, Mike Reedy. Who's winning, who's losing, who's drawing? Ireland are taking on Wales in the Aviva tomorrow night at 8:10. Who's winning?
Well, I would expect Ireland to win it, but it won't be as easy as some people seem to think. I don't think, but I expect Ireland to win it by a couple of scores, maybe 14, 15 points, something like that.
Okay. Scotland are entertaining France.
Now, this is an interesting one. I would love to see Scotland win this.
Are you going to?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not going. No.
Are you not? All right. Okay.
Not physically fit enough just yet. I probably would actually be able to go, but I'm not going anywhere. I'd love to see Scotland win it, but if France play as well as they have been playing, I can only see a French victory by the same score, 14, 15 points. Scotland have a good record in Murrayfield, right enough.
Yeah, all right. Okay, brilliant. Italy, Mike, are entertaining England.
Tell you one thing, by the way, England are getting right up themselves here, by the way. So they are. They have to come back, because if they don't, I think Borthwick, this is a make or break game for him. I think if he loses this, by the way, he's gone.
That's his last chance to lose.
Oh, do you think so? All right, okay.
If he loses this, because they've never lost to Italy, and I genuinely don't think, if Italy play as well as they can and England play as well as they can, I think England will win it.
I think it'd be a good game, all right. Okay, Matt. Sorry, before I come to you, your mum and Scrooge are having a banter there on screen.
Leave them off.
I've been watching
I
Leave
won't.
them.
the back.
But our colleague Dara Weston says, given that we've seen the likes of Samoa having to bought jerseys when they come to play us in an autumn international, I don't think the funding will find its way to tier 2 when the ABs and Wales and a lot of the other tier 1 nations are nearly broke. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I know the point you're making, Dara. Okay, Matt, to you. Ireland are playing Wales. Who's winning? Who's losing? Who's drawing?
Yeah, well, look, I don't think it's going to be as easy as people are making this game out to be, but I would expect Ireland to win. I would want them to get a bonus point.
All right. Okay. Scotland are entertaining France, Matt.
Again, I would love to see Scotland do a job on France just to blow this whole Six Nations wide open. But I don't see it. I don't see it. I think France
okay. Okay. And I think this has a possibility for being game of the weekend, Matt. Italy are entertaining England.
I think this is going to be a fantastic game, and we've all seen the leaps and strides the Italians have made under Gonzalo. What's his name? Gonzalo. Gazzetta Gonzalo, whatever his name is. I think he's been a fantastic coach, and I think Italy are doing unbelievable things. And look, they are going to put it up to England, but this England team, their backs are against the wall. They've lost 2 games in a row. They were hyped up to go have a Grand Slam decider with France in the last week, and that was all blown up and blown out of the water for them. And I think we'll see a reaction from England, and I think they will beat Italy. But again, wouldn't it be fucking lovely if Italy overturned?
Yes, it would. Okay. Jesus, Bruce, will you calm down, Bruce? Bruce, seriously. Okay. Don't mind me. I love dog. I'm a dog lover, so I don't care. James Grennan, Ireland, we are entertaining Wales in the Aviva tomorrow night. How do you think that's going to go?
Has been our Irish win there.
All right. Okay. Scotland entertaining France in Murrayfield.
France, unfortunately, but I would love to see Scotland do it. I'll be wearing a kilt.
All right. Okay. I will have my tartan underpants on.
I have a kilt, funny enough.
Your Finn Russell.
Yeah, all right, Mike. Mike. Seriously.
Your Finn Russell underpants, Peter, is it?
No. James, Italy against England.
Yeah, for me, this is going to be the game of the weekend. And if there's a lot of scrums, I think Italy will win. But if not, I think England will win. But I think it's going to be a very tight game, and I really, really will be shouting for Italy on this one.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thanks, James. Thank you, John. Okay. Final point. A final voice on the show this evening. Justin, our guest. Justin, Ireland entertaining Wales.
Ireland, very excited about the game, as I alluded to earlier. I think it's not going to be it's not without jeopardy, and it's not going to be an easy game. But I'm excited to see what this 23 can do.
All right, okay. Scotland, Justin, entertaining France.
Well, and like everybody else, I'd love to see Scotland do it. It's not impossible, but form book, head and heart. I think France will roll them, but it could be a very exciting game.
Yeah. Okay. And finally, Justin, Italy are entertaining England. As I've said, could be the game of the weekend. Go ahead.
Could be. Italy have been playing very well, and England haven't over the last couple of games. But fundamentally, I think they've got too much for the Italians, and there's an awful lot of pressure on them individually and collectively not to front it. So I expect them to win comfortably.
But do you think, Justin, and we'll end it on this, we'll end it on your answer to this. If England lose to Italy, Justin, and your DoorDash food order just arrived there, do you think, Justin, if England lose to Italy, Borthwick is on a very short plank.
Well, there's no doubt about it. He'd be under pressure, and it's so fickle, really, isn't it? Because I thought they had a great autumn series, and I think we talked about this before the championship. I thought that they would be there or thereabouts, and they just haven't performed. They've kind of gone back into the shells, but you compare the performances, and it's broadly the same group that were doing very well in the autumn, which leads me to think, after 2 near misses, unless there's something that none of us are aware about within the playing group, going on, and I don't think there is, then I think they've got too much firepower. They just need to come out of the shells.
Would the RFU? Sorry, I always come with these questions. Justin, would the RFU welcome Andy Farrell back into their arms?
I'm sure they probably would. Look, he's doing a fabulous job for us, isn't he? There's no doubt about it. To be fair, I think Borthwick, I've coached against him when he was with Japan. He is a very, very smart coach. Sometimes things conspire to make that not enough. But he's a good coach, in my opinion.
No, that's all we're asking for. Just people speaking. Okay, folks, that is all we have time for. We're way over time. Our collective thanks are to you for watching, all your comments. There's been a few there that I didn't get to, but thank you for joining in. As always, every week we are interactive and we want to hear what you have to say and your questions and all that sort of thing. My thanks, as always, are to the team that I work with, Mike Reedy, Matt Boland, and James Grennan. And of course, our special guest. He is a great friend to this show. He writes the occasional article, which are always good to read. I'm joking, but he does, which are always good to read on Ruck. This Justin Fitzpatrick. It is always a pleasure to have you on, and thank you very much for your time this evening. And no doubt we will talk to you again in the future. Justin, Matt, Mike, James, thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, James.
Thanks all. Thanks, Justin.
Bye.